Hello everybody, this is Llodg, and today I'm talking about my first thoughts about the new Legend of Zelda game, Tears of the Kingdom. I was originally going to make a gameplay video similar to my Elden Ring videos, where I play through just the first hour or so. However, when I recorded it, I was also getting a cold, so my voice and overall gameplay was not very good. It might have even been the worst video I've ever recorded for. I'm sure I've done worse. But since I was so excited to play this game and didn't want to just throw out the 2 hours of gameplay I recorded, I decided to make another first thoughts video, especially since it's been so long since my last one, so let's get into it. We start with Link and Zelda exploring the ruins beneath Hyrule Castle to figure out what this weird red gloom is. Link actually has a full stamina bar and 30 hearts, which I think was impossible to get in Breath of the Wild, though I'm not 100% sure. Also, since we have full health, we can even shoot beams out of the Master Sword, which is just a neat detail. As we continue further down the ruins, we find these statues and carvings of these beings called the Zonai, and it turns out that they worked together with early Hylians to establish the Kingdom of Hyrule. These carvings also depict Ganon in what he does in pretty much every game. Zelda takes pictures of all these carvings with her Purah Pad, which is like the Sheikah Slate, but different. Honestly, as far as I can tell, all the Sheikah stuff was just removed from the game for some reason and replaced. Like, I don't know why they just decided to rename it instead of just updating it and calling it Purah's Sheikah Slate 2.0 or something. Oh, and the last carving is blocked by a ton of rocks. If only I had the Sheikah Slate to pull up a bomb. We explore further down the ruins and find a mummy being held down by a glowing hand. As we approach, the hand just falls off and it also drops a tear-like gem. Then the mummy starts to move. As it awakens, it shoots out the red gloom and goes for Zelda. However, Link is just in time to block it with the Master Sword, but then it attacks again and takes away almost all of our hearts. Link's arm and the Master Sword are also totally corrupted, and the gloom goes in for another attack, and with it the Master Sword breaks, with a shard of it cutting the mummy's face. Though this gets healed almost instantly, and the mummy calls both Link and Zelda out for being weak, and with his powers he makes Hyrule Castle ascend into the air. During this, the ground breaks from under Zelda, and despite Link's efforts, she falls and disappears into a flash of light. Link's grabbed by the severed hand, that's right, the hand that was holding the mummy down, was able to float and grab Link. We see now that Hyrule Castle is floating, and a lot of rocks are falling onto Hyrule. Link then wakes up, pretty much naked. You know, this is a trend for these kind of Zelda games, I guess. He also realizes that his hand was replaced with this new glowy green one. We also hear a voice that is different from Zelda's voice in the last game. The voice also tells us that he has repaired our body to the best of his ability, however our arm was beyond saving, so he replaced it. Before exiting this cave, we grab the Master Sword, and it's not like the Master Dagger. Okay, it's just a cave, but man, it's still weird seeing the Master Sword like this. Anyway, after lots of remembering old skills from Breath of the Wild, like climbing and swimming, and finding some pants to put on, we come to the end of the cave and swan dive into the next Sky Island. Yep, there's multiple layers of Sky Islands for us to explore, and I have to say it's super impressive how this game does it. There's no visible loading screens, and you can fall from really high heights. I also love how the water splashes back down onto you after you fall from these high heights. The basic gameplay is pretty much the same as Breath of the Wild. You can run and collect stuff and fight enemies that are on the map, like this one, and the Master Sword broke. Okay, well I guess it was inevitable, and this is the last time I've seen it, as it doesn't recharge at this point in the story. Also, pretty much all the enemies on this island are these Zonai constructs, and they are pretty much like the Sheikah robots we saw in the last game. Also, for some reason I kept getting the jump button and run button switched, so a lot of my early combat is just kind of embarrassing. Maybe it's all the Metroid Prime I've been playing that makes me think B is the jump button. Though after some exploring, we find a good construct that has apparently met with Zelda and gives us her Purah Pad to use. And it really does look like a Switch, much like how the Sheikah Slate looked like a Wii U gamepad. We can even see the Temple of Time from here, though it looks very different from every other appearance it's been in. I think it was even in the last game and it looked very different. Apparently Zelda's there, so we head towards it, and after a lot of exploring, and I mean a lot, because this game from the get-go has so much you can possibly do, we climb up the stairs and try to open the Temple of Time, and we're locked out. Then the mysterious voice returns, and it turns out to be this guy, and this goat-looking guy is named Rauru, and he gives us his right arm to replace ours. He also says we must restore our hand with light, and the various shrines on the islands will do that for us, and so we go and find those 3 shrines. Now, each of these shrines acts a lot like the shrines on the Great Plateau, where each one gives you a new ability. That's right, we get a brand new abilities, and as far as I know, the old abilities aren't in this game. These shrines also teach you about said ability. I'll tell you about each of these abilities, and I'll be going kind of quick since there are so many possibilities that you can do with said abilities. First, Ultra Hand. This ability allows you to move objects and even connect them together to make a variety of things, and when I say a variety, I mean a variety. Second, Fuse. This ability allows you to fuse different objects onto your weapons, shields, and even arrows for different effects, like more damage or even stuff like homing or fire. Third, Ascend. This one is the most straightforward. You can ascend up and through ceilings/objects. This one's super helpful for getting height quickly without having to climb. And at the start of the game, I really didn't use it often. I just honestly forgot about it at the start. Also, sometimes the green swimming thing is a little long, even though the object I'm ascending through is fairly thin. After you complete each shrine, you get this glowing orb that decreases the amount of darkness in your hand. And now that we've completed all 3 shrines, let's teleport back to the Temple of Time. And why can't I teleport? I gotta walk the whole way back? Oh, and great, I don't even have my glider. So I had to walk back and died multiple times. I'd already died once to a like, which are super scary in this game, by the way. Though since there was like a literal hour of footage of me exploring this area, I might as well talk a little bit about what you can do, like finding Koroks. Yep, they're back. And people are mad at them. And this time they have a new idea of how to get Korok seeds, and that is reuniting them with their pals. And once you do, you actually get 2 for the price of 1, and I thought there would have been a lot of new type of things you could do, but as far as I can tell, this is the only like really new one. And on the actual main map there are a few different ones, but they are super similar from the ones from Breath of the Wild. Also, you see Rauru just chilling and talking a bit, which is kinda cool. Okay, now we're back at the Temple of Time and can open the door. We see a giant tear, and suddenly we see Zelda in this cloud dimension, and she holds our hands and gives us a new ability, Recall, which allows you to reverse the movement of an object for a certain amount of time. Like if something fell, you can make it go back up to where it was. Anyway, we continue up into the temple and try to open the door. However, it acts like pulling out the Master Sword in the previous game, where it'll slowly take away all your hearts, and Rauru tells us that we need more strength, and there's actually one more shrine that I don't do we must find. And oh look, we can finally teleport. This would have been great an hour ago. So we go and complete the shrine fairly easily, I might add, and return to the temple, pray to the goddess statue, and get a heart container for our 4th heart. With this new strength, we are able to open the door, and Rauru tells us that it's time for him to go, and disappears into the air. I was honestly really sad that he was gone, because I thought he would be our companion throughout the game, since we did not have any for the previous game. Also, it turns out he was like the first king of Hyrule or something, which is pretty cool Zelda lore if you ask me. Now we run along these rocks to get to the end, and put our Master Dagger into this glob of light, and it somehow gets transported to Zelda. And here the game opens up with the broad goal of finding Zelda. And that's where I'll stop for the story, because honestly, it can go into any direction you want from this point. This game has honestly held my attention for the past week, and even though I was sick with a cold, I still wanted to play this all the time. It's also the reason this video is coming out so late from the release, because I can't stop playing it. The new abilities are so cool and open up the game to so many new possibilities, and I can't see myself going back to the base Breath of the Wild after this. It's just so cool. The new addition of Sky Islands and Caves honestly really adds a lot to the experience that I didn't expect, though I do have to comment on how difficult the game is. I have died so many times in this game. And why does the ice water kill you so fast? Did it run your health down that fast in Breath of the Wild? The music is also so good in this. It's a lot like its predecessor, but when it does stuff different, it's so good. It's also very pretty to look at. Like, I think you really have to play the game to know how nice it looks. The game also runs really well, which I thought it would, but being on 7-year-old hardware, my Switch is actually the launch Switch that I got for Breath of the Wild specifically, and using it to play its sequel so well is such a cool thing in my life. The voice actors also did a good job, especially the mummy. I might have some qualms with the voice sounding a lot like Matt Mercer's other voices, and I just hear him and not the character, but he does a really good job at least at the start. Also, I have a feeling that the start will feel like the start of the first Mario Galaxy, since I have a feeling I'll forget about it, and when I see it again, I'll just feel nostalgic for it since I can never go back there. And that's my first thoughts on The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Honestly, one of my favorite new games in recent memory. It may even become my favorite Zelda game, though we will have to see as I beat it. Please go play this game for yourself. The day that I've been recording this, Nintendo just announced that the game has already made 10 million copies through the weekend, so we're going to be getting a whole lot new Zelda games like this in the future, I bet. It's really good. So I hope you enjoyed the video, have a good day, and goodbye!